What is going on, journalist family? Irvin Felix John with the Fitness Journals, where I provide education, entertainment, and authenticity to the calisthenics game. And here's another episode of Calisthenics Talk, right? And today we're going to be doing a little review, right, on a video coming from Jay Vincent, right? Jay Vincent Fitness. And I just want to kick this off by saying I'm sure this guy is a great guy, right? Personally, I don't know him. I'm sure he's a great individual, so I'm not going to attack him personally. But what I am going to do, I'm going to pick apart the statements that he's making in this video, because a lot of what I'm hearing is word vomit, right? And we live in a time where anyone with a phone and a hole in their face, they come on the internet and just provide unfounded statements to the masses. And like I said, it could have been anyone. I'm just talking in regards to his video, right? So I'm not going to attack him. I can't let this go unchecked. A couple people have sent me the video and they're like, yo, Irv, what are you saying about this? And I do want to lead by saying there are some things that I'm going to agree with him on, right? There's some points where I'm like, that's a good point, right? The problem that I have, and that you'll understand that I have as we're going through the video, is I don't like when people make absolute statements about something that they have limited knowledge on, or they're proving, like, while they're making the statement or trying to give an argument, that they're not educated about it, right? Clearly, I mean, I didn't go through his videos and whatnot, but clearly, just like from what I see, the dude knows how to get himself in shape. I'm assuming he's a trainer as well and things like that. So he's probably helped a lot of people, which is why I'm not attacking him. I want to make that clear. But, bro, do better. That's the point I'm trying to make, right? So we're going to go through this video, and we're going to, and while we're going through this video, I'm going to be asking you guys some questions, because I want to make sure that I'm being reasonable as well, right? I don't want to be like one of them calisthenics cultists where it's like, you talk about calisthenics in any negative way, we're going to come for you. We're going to cut your head off, right? That's not what we're trying to do. So, Jeff, for reference, so you guys understand if you don't know who I am or whatever, my main modality of training has been calisthenic for the past 15 years, right? So I first got introduced into like real bodyweight training was when I was doing Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu. Primarily, like, we were not doing like any other form of resistance training except for calisthenics. And I think the definition that he's using for calisthenics in the video is really the definition of aerobic training. Like the references and exercise examples that he's making for calisthenics is not calisthenics, right? So that's my introduction to bodyweight training. But then when I got into extreme bodyweight training is when in 2014, when I met the barbarians in the park, and like I just elevated my training to a different level once I started training with them. And that's why I feel like I have to talk about this, because there's no way bro could just come out here and say like calisthenics is useless, it's a waste of time, and then not reference the most elite bodyweight athletes in the world, right? They just neglect their physiques, their performance, and all that, and just be like, yeah, calisthenics is a waste of time. So I've built my body utilizing calisthenics, right? So let's go ahead and start the video and listen to what he's talking about here, right?
Calisthenics are a complete and utter waste of time when it comes to exercise. As a matter of fact, they're not even exercise. Exercise must stimulate an adaptive response, an improvement in muscular strength and muscular size.
Now, just within the first not even 30 seconds of the video, bro, what? Come on, bro. What is the equation of strength? Strength is the neural adaptation multiplied by the cross-sectional area of a muscle. If you're doing aerobic training, cardio, stuff like that, that's not the purpose isn't to, and I want you guys to understand, I am making a distinction between aerobics and calisthenics, cardio and calisthenics. I am not saying they're the same thing, which is why I'm making the statement I'm making now. You cannot say that calisthenics will not adapt your muscles when calisthenics is a form of resistance training. Before I even started doing weighted calisthenics, which I'm going to get into that, I made my physique transformed. Like I looked in great shape. I'll put a picture up if I can find a picture. I'm sure I can. Like before I made the transition into doing weighted calisthenics, and my physique improved drastically. Why? Because there was an incentive for my muscle fibers to grow, to break and build, break and build, break and build, the process of hypertrophy. So let's continue listening to what he's saying here. Just off the bat, it's like it seems like the definition that he has in mind for calisthenics is not what the actual definition is.
Calisthenics cannot do this, first of all, because it is not intense enough. It does not recruit meaningfully fast twitch motor units, and it does not provide a deep enough or an aggressive level of muscular fatigue. So what do I mean by calisthenics? So something like jumping jack or burpee or any other silly nonsense that F45 and these box group training classes do. A lot of the reason they do these exercises.
As a fitness professional, this video is 2 years old, so I'm hoping that as a fitness professional, I didn't even look at the comments. I'm just looking at the video now, so I don't know like exactly what people are saying or what he's saying. But bro, you should know better than that, my boy. You know what I mean? Like to know that that's your examples of calisthenics, jumping jacks and burpees. Those are aerobic style training exercises. That is predominantly cardio training. That you're not activating muscle fibers and doing stuff like that when you're doing those styles of exercise. And that is a terrible example. Examples that I would provide: push-ups, body weight push-ups, squats, pull-ups, planks, things like that. Those stimulate muscle activation. The things that he just gave there, those are more metabolic style training, aerobic style training. That's a terrible example. So I'll give him the pass in thinking that, which is still bad because, bro, if you're making a video about this saying calisthenics is useless, you got to get checked for it. And giving terrible examples, things that are not even calisthenics, using that as an example is terrible.
The reason they do these exercises in these, the F45 or these group training classes is because they're easy and they're fun. So you got to look at the business model. The business model is to get people to sign up and get people to keep going, so they pay the monthly membership. If they did something that was difficult, most people wouldn't show up. If they did something that was boring, most people wouldn't show up. So they're not actually effective exercise. They're more like group recreation. And a lot of people will make the argument that, oh, well, something is better than nothing. But in this case, it's actually not.
Now, the most important thing to consider before even diving into something like this is, what is the goal of the individual, right? What is the goal? Not everyone's goal is to get a six-pack, shredded, lean physique. That's not the goal of everybody. While I always do encourage to incorporate some degree of resistance training, not everybody wants to get big and jacked. Now, if your goal, and I say this all the time, is to build a physique to get on stage and win Mr. Olympia, you're not going to get there doing calisthenics, right? So before anyone hits me with that argument and like, oh, but I know if I want to get on stage, man, I can't do that with calisthenics. We know that. You don't have to come and tell me that, because I'm telling you that all the time. So once again, the goal of the individual, for him to call it nonsense, is like, well, bro, come on now. Let's be balanced and reasonable here. You have to understand context. Now, I hope he ain't one of them trainers who's like, no pain, no gain. You tore a muscle in your bicep, keep going. I hope that's not the case. I don't know if he's a trainer. I'm assuming that he's a trainer.
Calisthenics could, and a lot of times do, provide what I refer to as an exercise side effect. You take an individual who's done nothing for several years, a really deconditioned, overweight, under-muscled individual. If they do anything, it's going to act as a minor stimulus and a small adaptation. So that's why a lot of people see initial adaptations with something like calisthenics or group training, But the problem is it's very short-lived. It is very minor.
Short-lived, you say? Short-lived? Is that what we're saying here? Short-lived? I beg to differ. I beg to differ. Now, like, it's hard for me to even rebuttal a lot, because the definition I can clearly see that he has for calisthenics is not what calisthenics is, right? And I just want to point out here something that's important to understand is in effective argumentation, when you're trying to argument a point, you have to present clear and compelling a case that you can articulate a well-defined thesis or your main point, right? And like off the bat, I'm just confused as to what he's actually trying to get at. Clearly, the overlying message is calisthenics is useless. It seems like he's diving more into calisthenics is useless for building muscle. But it sounds like even altogether, he's saying, he's like, it's nonsense. Like this exercise and that exercise is nonsense. So it seems like he's discounting it altogether, right? But trying to convince people to change their mind on something, it requires a supporting point. Like you have to provide relevant evidence, facts, examples, and expert opinions. And I don't know what his background is, what his expert opinion is. He's clearly not an expert in. I mean, bro, the fact that he's not even giving any credit. Maybe by the end of the video he will, but he's not giving any real credit to the significance of calisthenics. I don't know what he's an expert in exactly, because it's like, even if you're a weightlifting expert, bodybuilding, whatever, you should still understand the science of how muscle fibers work. He referenced the fast twitch type 2 muscle fibers, and you should understand that depending on your style of calisthenics training, if you're doing a lot of explosive unilateral movements, that you would be able to build a healthy amount of lean muscle performing those adaptations of exercises, those modifications, right? So on top of that, like, acknowledging and addressing the counter arguments, like someone who is who's a calisthenics connoisseur, an expert, you have to be able to implement the points that I would give to make your argument stronger as to why. See, that is why I'm making the point that calisthenics sucks, right? So the art of argumentation is important when you're trying to convince people why your way is better than the other way. And I'm going to read the comments after, but he's having a hard time of convincing me, at least, maybe because, I am who I am, but a good.
So not only is the adaptation extremely small and very short-lived, it's actually not better than doing nothing, because it is a lot of wear and tear on the joints. And a lot of these movements are done with a lot of momentum, really horrible form because they're not even taught properly. Most people will end up with an injury eventually.
Now he's talking about CrossFit. We already know anyone who's serious about calisthenics, we don't claim CrossFit, right? And I'm not going to get into CrossFit in this video, but just to make the point about, again, what he's saying is like, bro, before you make a video bashing or criticizing exercise modality, know what you're talking about. All this is inaccurate, right? Majority of real calisthenics practitioners, you see the distinguished difference between calisthenics and CrossFit, because CrossFit throws form out the window, right? Calisthenics prides yourself more on performing full range of motion, proper tempo, just overall proper form.
Doing calisthenic type movements. So the argument is better than nothing is actually wrong. So the best thing you can do, obviously, for exercise is not any of these, movements that involve several muscle groups. You want to choose movements that focus on a targeted muscle group. There seems to be this erroneous belief that involving a bunch of different muscle groups somehow makes the exercise more effective. But this is wrong, because the more muscle groups you involve in a movement, the less stimulus each muscle group gets. And we know that the deeper the level of muscle fatigue in a particular muscle group, the better the stimulus. So if you're lowering the intensity of effort across many muscle groups, instead of just focusing on intensely fatiguing one, it becomes less effective.
Now, there once again, if the context that he was speaking about these things stood, like I understood the context, there's a lot of things I'd be like, I agree. I can agree with it. Overall, if the goal, if he's solely talking about that the ability to grow muscle is superior using weightlifting, weight training, no one can argue with that, right? But he's using a complete like polar approach where weightlifting for muscle growth or nothing at all. And the approach is just completely wrong because there's no actual, yes, if we were to take peer-reviewed studies and look at the effect of muscle growth utilizing weightlifting versus modality like calisthenics, obviously we're gonna. I haven't gone through like the depth to look at those studies. And if you guys, once again, if you know me, you know a lot. Look through the old videos. If you don't, we follow science, right? I'm not gonna come and give my opinion without first stating this is my opinion, and then I'm not gonna try and sell it as a fact, right? If we look at the studies, I'm gonna show you the studies. I'm gonna show you the findings. I'm gonna show like the type of study and everything, the breakdown, XYZ, to get you to understand why I'm making this point and stating it as a fact. Muscle growth, obviously, it's superior if you're using weightlifting. I have made, and there's another point again, because I'm talking about not just my personal experience, the people I've trained with, who are elite level bodyweight athletes, and their physiques look insane. So if we're going for a physique competition, truth is, when I'm at my most conditioned utilizing calisthenics as my training modality, I could step on stage in place, right? I might have to back that up and actually get on stage in place, but when I look at and understand like what judges look for in like the physique competition and XYZ, I know I can place. That's not even a debate, right? My physique is crazy. That's just a fact. And then my performance to match that physique is another thing. And the truth is, if me and this dude, and I don't even know him, I don't know his videos, I don't know his strength level, I have so much confidence in my ability. If he were to challenge me to do the stuff that he did, bro, I would smoke you. Like I believe that. I strongly believe that. Now, and maybe let me be a little bit humble. Maybe I wouldn't smoke him, but I would keep up, right? I would be able to do everything with relative ease, right? But if he were to try and do the stuff that I do, he couldn't do it. And I know that for a fact, right? I just know that. I'll go back. I have no problem apologizing if I go through and look, oh man, he does calisthenics too, which obviously I doubt that. But hold a 53-second human flag. I'm at 198 pounds. Rep out 20 handstand push-ups. Do pistol squats with 100 pounds. And then another argument people like to give is like, but legs, bro, I'll smoke. Maybe not smoke, but I'll keep up in legs as well, right? Like, I do this. So I'm just trying to stand up for calisthenics in the sense where it's like, don't take that type of an angle on something that you don't understand, right?
This is all over the fitness industry now. Things like you combine a burpee with a push-up or an overhead press. This is absolute nonsense. So now, rather than having an effective exercise for one muscle group, you have ineffective movements for a bunch of different muscle groups. So the best way to train is a very low skill movement and focus on the targeted
for
muscle
hypertrophy
group only. It is better to remove or drastically reduce relative involvement of other muscle groups, such as using a machine or sitting on something and bracing yourself and targeting the muscle group, because that way you can work that muscle group harder and more safely. So calisthenics are literally the polar opposite of effective exercise. They have a very poor influence on improvement in cardiovascular demand because they're not very intense.
Bro.
Sure, your heart rate goes up when you do them, but it's mostly due to the short muscle contractions
Bro,
and
what are you
lack of
doing,
venous
bro?
return. So anyone who tells you,
Okay, now at this point, I think he's trolling. Maybe I just got trolled into reviewing the video, and he's trolling, and it's a joke, right? Now specificity, the specificity principle is always important to consider when you're training for a specific outcome, right? Specificity will determine what you actually get better at. That's what the exercise selection, rep range, XYZ, tempo, everything has to be considered when you're looking at what goal you're attempting to achieve. So if your main goal is to improve your cardiovascular capacity by doing calisthenics, are you going to get a direct and optimal increase in your cardiovascular ability in comparison to doing cardio? No. If your goal is to get better, improve your cardiovascular adaptation, get out and run, get out and do sprints, do things that are specific for increasing your cardiovascular ability. Clearly, this dude got to be trolling, because to say calisthenics does not improve your cardiovascular ability is, again, word vomit. I'm not a runner, right? I'm not a runner, but I live in between Grenada and here. When I'm in Grenada, I run all the time, right? And do I have a 6-minute mile? No. I could run 8-minute mile, no problem. Obviously, I don't train for running. I'm not trying to train to run a marathon, but I can run. My main modality, again, is calisthenics. If you're doing the styles of training that I'm performing, it's a holistic approach, yes. But if your goal is solely something specific, I'm going to give you something more specific for that goal. To straight up discount calisthenics altogether is madness, bro.
otherwise simply has no idea what they're talking about. So there's no need to improve calisthenics in your workout for fat loss or conditioning. Definitely don't include them in your workouts for sports-related things. Simply sticking to strength training is going to give you all the benefits that calisthenics supposedly do tenfold. So if you want to learn more about the actual science behind training, like and subscribe to this channel, bell notification icon. Visit my website, www.
Yeah, I ain't about to. I mean, if y'all want to go over there and look at it, that's up to you. But, bro, this is a joke. I'm gonna read the comments right now. I didn't read the comments. He's not a clown. This is the whole circus. Well, it seems like off the bat, people are kind of like, bro, what are you talking about? This dude is a prime example of why you should never take advice from trashy influencers. Ooh, I'm gonna look at the responses to. But he's right, though, to what that guy just said. But he's right, though. Post a video of you doing 15 one-arm push-ups to prove you aren't a weakling. Not an argument. All right, well, it looks like they're just arguing with him. I gained 10 kilograms of muscle in 8 months using calisthenics, just focusing on the basics, push. And once again, I could debate this all day and have evidence to back it up. Look at my clients. Look at me. Not forget my clients. Because I think, yes, me doing it for myself is one thing, but look at me, bro. I'm a beast, and I'm not gonna be humble when it comes down to sticking up for the benefits and result calisthenics has got me. And let's listen. If I have to back it up, bro, it's no problem. I do this. I'm an absolute monster, and I do calisthenics. Come and try and expose me. Now, I want to add this in. Long before I started doing weighted calisthenics, I'm getting so like, I want to do something right now. You feel me? Like, not violence, right? I want to like work out, relax. It's like long before I even started doing weighted calisthenics, I was a beast by just solely doing the body weight training. Once I added weighted calisthenics, doing body weight movements with additional resistance, it amplified my performance, right? And I've trained with every different type of athlete, right? And was able to hang, right? Because the approach I take is I train in certain phases and focus hyper focused on very specific goals during those phases. But all of the training still revolves around the base of calisthenics. So Jay, my brother, you know, once again, if you're getting people great results, I commend you, because ultimately, as a fitness professional, the goal is always to get people to improve their health and wellness. But I cannot allow you to just come out here and speak nonsense. I cannot. I absolutely cannot. It's okay. We learn every day. Go back to the drawing board and tell me. And you said whoever disagrees, they don't know what they're talking about. I mean, sure, bro. You could prove me wrong. That's no problem. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. You won't, but give me your best approach. Like I said, do not come on the internet and just use your platform for. I'm not going to tell you what you should or shouldn't do. I'll just say what I dislike. So right, you can do whatever you want. I just dislike where there's a person at a level of influence and comes and tries to deter people from doing something that potentially may be beneficial. They might have been thinking, yo, man, I want to do something. I don't have time to go to the gym. I want to get in shape. I want to improve my body composition. And then a guy like this comes along and makes a video just spewing mostly nonsense in the context of what he's talking about here. And it's like, bro, what are you talking about? Anyway, Jay, do better. Do better. Make another video with your updated findings on how effective calisthenics is. If you haven't come across a calisthenics athlete, here I am. Go ahead, look at my content, and then make a video, I guess, picking me apart, saying, bro, this dude's on roids, or I know outside of these videos he's lifting weights in between. This dude his blood type is whatever hormones that people take. I don't even know. It's just I'm hoping that, just like me, we're not gonna attack personally. Like, I didn't call this guy a bimbo, a stupid idiot, or any of that. I think he's just misinformed. That's it. I just think he's misinformed, and I think if he is really passionate about what he does, he will be able to retract these statements that he made in the video. This 2 years ago. Maybe he's changed his mind already, and would come back and say, I was wrong. Anyway, health is wealth. Get money. Remember, it is just the warm up.